ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to be able to bring you a new translation. This is the second volume of my Rilke translations. In the first one, I did New Poems, Parts 1 and 2. This time I'm doing his book, extraordinary book called The Book of Hours. And what should I say? Rilke is, quite simply, the best-known German-speaking poet of the modern era. That is to say, he lived from 1875 to 1926. He straddles the 2 centuries, and the spiritual pursuit that you'll encounter here is that of a poet on a quest for the transcendent, whose search tools are those of the lyric art he makes. He calls it Book of Hours, which means a prayer schedule, as used by priests in monasteries in the Catholic Church. But Rilke, though raised a Catholic, gave up Catholic belief. He certainly didn't give up religion. I would say that he talks to God on just about every page of this book, and it's a pleasure to give you a sampling of our dialogues. Well, I should emphasize that what I do with this Rilke, as with Volume 1 and most of my other books, is to carry on a dialogue. After I've translated a poem of Rilke's from the German, I then reply to it in a verse form that he has just taught me, most likely, or sometimes something a little bit different. But we converse. I don't just simply interpret. Sometimes I talk back. It's a lot of fun to do. I never am tired of it. Let's see now. Let's begin with Dialogue 18, because that gives you a sense of a good bit of what goes on in the first part of the book. Rilke tries different kinds of character roles, and one of them, the earliest he tries, is that of an apprentice icon painter in Tsarist Russia. He went on a trip to Russia with his friend Lou Andreas-Salomé, and he was quite charmed by the country, and he likes imagining himself to be the apprentice icon painter, but then he gives that up after certainly, I don't think he keeps it up for more than about 20 poems. Although he will return to it later, he likes to reuse his favorite themes. Here we are with Rilke, the apprentice painter. The brush my straying hand, but why, beguiles. God portraits, yet you barely notice them. I sense you. At my senses' garment hem, you start to waver as mid many isles. And for your eyes that never blink at whiles, I'm space again. No longer you're amidst your brilliant glancing, where music lines of eager angel dancing have filled the distance, long exhausted by it. Your last abiding house will farther be, and all your heaven listens out in me, who contemplate you, thoughtful and am quiet. Okay, by the time we get to, let's see, 28, Rilke is no longer content to be the fictive icon painter. Instead, he stresses the need to communicate for a while with a feeling of darkness, both within and without. Rilke is in the great romantic tradition of creative introspection. The poet in this tradition doesn't accept necessarily any preordained or pre-written scripture, but wants in a way to transcend them all. Here then, so many angels seek you in the light. The brow is thrust to where the star fires burn, when they from every radiance more would learn. To me, when I in verse the query place, it seems that each with strange averted face, far from your garment folds, unwise would turn. For you yourself were but a guest of gold, only to please an era that would care for clear, contained, and marble-molded prayer, would you as monarch of the comet's flare, while streaming ray on brow was proudly bold. You went back home. The age was molten, cold. Dark is your mouth from whence I waft in air. Your world with hands of ebony you hold. That sounds like he's holding it that way at night time, doesn't he? Here's my reply. For deity, search equally in dark. I'm going to take as example the poet Shelley, who did this in his marvelous romantic poem, Prometheus Unbound. For Shelley might Prometheus be freed if only Asia first had learned to heed the demogorgon moral. She would mark the son of black that taught the mind to hark. Heart pardon is the liberating deed. When Shelley, not Shelley, but Shelley's hero Prometheus forgives Jupiter for enchaining him 3,000 years, the chains fall off. The emblem of the hands of ebony would hint that cosmic life had grown from seed sown in a night of yet unconscious need that could with its potential leaven feed the soul with manna bread and rescue be. I rise from sleep and insight comes to me. Look in your heart and write your dream and read. So now let us go to Dialogue 55. I'd like to give quite a variety of samples from different parts of the book. The poets widely scattered you. A storm their stammering went through. But I'll regather you and save in vessel that you pleasure gave. Mid many winds my path would wind. 1,000 times you'd drive me there. I'm bringing everything I find. Some used you as a cup, the blind. Servants to hide you, deep designed. The beggar offered you with care. At times was to a child consigned a piece of meaning. You'd prepare. I seek, you see, desire and dare. I'm one who hides behind his hand, and as a shepherd wanders free, lest alien gaze upon him land, and harm forestall it and foresee. My dream is to complete you, and by you may I completed be. Adam Kadmon, the primal man, in whom all souls foregathered were. This is a reference to a Kabbalistic, folkloric type tradition, according to which there were two falls of Adam and Eve. Adam, when he fell for the first time, fell spiritually, and the second time he fell physically to his current size. He used to occupy the entire universe. Adam Kadmon, the primal man, in whom all souls foregathered were, will reassemble if we can, reforming what he would prefer. The manifested absolute, he must imagination be, that will enable man to see creation maximally free, yet too in unity, in fruit, as breathing, growing human tree, at one in branch and trunk and root. I sense there an importation of the Yggdrasil myth, the cosmic oak in which all the gods and all the people and also the dwellers in the underworld, it's all one giant tree. They all inhabit it in Norse mythology. Plutonic rock, Pluto, the god of the underworld, and molten metals down there, and occasional volcanoes. Pluto, plutonic rock, in searing heat, the mastodon in swift retreat beneath its powdered bones. The sea, the elk with foe that will compete, the seed awaiting eagerly, in its flower in face of windstorm fleet. The screaming bird amid the sleet, the scouring hail, the search will suit, when Blake and Whitman restitute. Naturing natured, you and me. So now we'll go to poem 84. Here what charms me is the inclusion of all sorts of things from the largest to the the smallest. He pictures God. He pictures a peasant who's parked his wagon or cart on the road while having a stop for refreshments in a tavern. That gives you something of the sense of a wish to range widely. The faces bowed, note how meek, in understanding you bent low. So poets who at evening seek on avenues remote will go. So round a child who died will stand. The farmers with their gaze downcast. They feel what happened close at hand, what's over great, above them past. When one is first aware of you, by neighbour stirred, by hour that told, he goes, your trace to seek, to view, yet seeming heavy laden, old. He'll come more close to you indeed, and feel the winds and things afar, and hear you whispered by the mead, the meadow, and see you chanted by the star. Truth no unlearning more can mar. All are your cloak, whom all things heed. To him you're good and near and new, and wondrous lovely as a trip that he on widened river blue is making on a silent ship. The land is wide, in wind is given, surrendered to the breath of heaven, to woods a vassal, rising sheer, the villages approaching near, will vanish as the bells that play, as yesterday and as today, and all we saw will disappear. Along the coursing current, though, towns upright, high, again will grow. He travels in time as well as space, and come with grandly flapping wings to greet our festive pilgrimings. At times the boat to places leads, quite lonely, void of village, town. They wave-side wait, the spirit heeds, in hope the homeless may come down. For such wait little wagons there, for each 3 horses fresh and new, that breathless hunt the evening air upon a way that's lost to view. Now we go to what's possibly the most famous poem in the book. Look at it. It's 1 line long, and my reply is also only 1 line. Here is the poem. For poverty's a radiance great within. How can that be a whole poem? Well, it certainly is a line. That is to say, it's not a sentence in prose, it's a line of verse. For poverty's a radiance great within, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So, it's an iambic pentameter. What made him want to write that? Here's my reply. Fell self away, as one, capital O, may one begin. It has to do with a shedding of the self. Poverty is metaphysical poverty, not making a lot of assumptions about the supernatural and not requiring yourself or others to ascribe and sign on the dotted line to any particular set of beliefs. But poverty is freedom, and from that point of view, for poverty's a radiance great within deserves to be written in calligraphy, translated first into Arabic, and then written as a borderline to a kind of evolving planet, if indeed it is not an evolving nebula or galaxy. This is a way of relating of world awareness to heart awareness. It has the sense that poverty is a radiance great within, in the sense that Jesus suggested in the Beatitudes, blessed are the poor in spirit. It's a counsel of humility. For poverty is a radiance great within. I put it on the back of the book too. I put it on the front, in Arabic, in English, in all the world languages of the world. So let's go to Rilke's last poem. I think Oh, I forgot to explain. I should perhaps fill in a few more details. This line that to poverty's radiance great within comes most immediately from a Sufi motto, the Sufis being mystics rooted in Islam but attempting to transcend it as well, and their motto was Fakhri Fakhri, that is, my poverty is my pride. And once again, this is a kind of unassuming what you might call metaphysical modesty is what it is. It's humility. My poverty is my pride. It means I'm shedding everything except what I care most for, and that is the transcendent. Now, in the climax poem that Rilke offers for this book, it's number 134, and it's going to be fun to read. It's a little bit longer than my poems are, not much, but my reply is good and short. Listen. Oh, where's the man whom time and what he had would so affirm in splendid poverty? In marketplace he'd stay unclothed and be, appearing bare before a bishop clad. Well, you know, the sadhus, the Hindu saints in old age would often go, and just not wearing any clothes, but in the form precisely only in which God made them, and wander in the forest and live that way. The innermost and lovingest of all who came was living like a youthful year, brown brother of your nightingales that call. Him sweet well-being, wonder would befall, and in his living on the earth high cheer. Unlike the ones whom weary hours appall, acquiring by and by a joyless yoke, with little blossoms as with brothers small, he walked the meadow edge, and gladly spoke about himself and where he'd help extend, so that in everything a bliss might rise. The brightness of that heart could have no end, no gesture would escape admiring eyes. He came from light to ever deeper light, his little cell serene in tranquil might. A smile would widen on his countenance, that history and childhood would enhance, maturing as in maiden-moved romance. And when he sang, the yesterdays returned, forgotten of a sudden from the gloom. Pervasive, quiet, every nest would fill, though hearts would cry of sisters whom he'd thrill. He touched them gently, who for long had yearned, the fancied brides for the approaching groom. The pollen grains of song would be dispersed from out his crimson lips, that dreaming drove into the souls of them who felt his love. In opening corollas then immersed, they'd slowly fall as calyx open burst. For as immaculate was he received. These are the worshippers are like nuns receiving Jesus. Within the body that was too a soul. Their eyes were closed, the roses that believed, while tresses filled with love nights would unroll. The great received him as indeed the least. To animals there came the cherubim, to ask, let wife bring fruitage for the feast. And wondrous butterflies in wind would swim, for he was known, all fruitful were through him. And when he died, as light as reft of name, he was distributed among them. Seed of him in brooks would run, that trees would heed, which mid the bloom would view him when he came. He lay and sang, to him the sisters ran, and there bewept their much beloved man. After that deep breath, I give you my brief reply. Adonis, Orpheus, Pan, Christ are one, which being chanted, my reply is done. Thank you for listening.